Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Divya MR, working as a lecturer in Electronics and Communication Department, Government CPC Polytechnic, Mysore. So I welcome you all to this session on online interactive course on microcontroller and applications. Today's my session is on 8051 architecture. So my objectives are introduction to computer systems, features of microprocessor and microcontroller, features of Harvard and von Neumann architectures, selection criteria for microcontroller, architecture of 8051, features of 8051, pin diagram of 8051, memory organization, program counter, and some of the SFRs. So let us start with the general computing system. Usually, a computing system or a computer system will have CPU, memory, and peripherals. Peripherals means I/O devices, input-output devices, which are nothing but keyboards, monitor, printers, scanners, and all. Memory is the unit which we are using for data storage, data as well as instruction storage. And main part of computing system is the CPU, Central Processing Unit. So CPU will execute the instructions which are there in the memory. So in memory we have RAM and ROM. RAM means random access memory and ROM means read-only memory. RAM memory is used for data storage and ROM memory is used for program or instruction storage. So permanent memory is ROM and temporary memory is RAM. Permanent in the sense whenever there is a power failure, the loss of data is not there in ROM, but whenever there is a power failure, the data stored in the RAM will be lost in case of RAM. So memory is the unit which is used for storage of data as well as instruction or addresses. And all these components are connected to the CPU. CPU means Central Processing Unit. So all devices or memory peripherals will be connected to this CPU using buses. Buses are nothing but a bus will carry information from one device to other. So here you can see there are three buses: address bus, data bus, and control bus. So address bus are considered as unidirectional buses. Data buses are considered as bidirectional and control bus is also unidirectional. Unidirectional in the sense CPU can only send data on this buses, but bidirectional means we can read and as well as write from the CPU as well as to the connected devices. And control buses, we will send control signals like read, write, ALE, PSEN. Control signals will be sent from the CPU to the connected devices through the control bus. And by using address bus, we can send addresses to the devices and data from connected devices to CPU and CPU to the connected devices will be shared through this data bus. So there are address bus, data bus, and controller buses. So next topic is registers. In computer systems, we will use register to store either data or address. So registers are the devices which are used to store data, values, as well as addresses. So it can be of 8-bit, 16-bit, 32 bits, or 64 bits. Depending on the processor, a register size will be of 8, 16, 32, or 64 bits. So inside the CPU, we will have these blocks like ALU, flags, program counter, instruction register, instruction decoder, and timing control. Registers, some registers are there. So as you can see here, program counter, address bus is there, control bus will be connected to instruction decoder, and there are data bus. So ALU means arithmetic logic unit. So as the name itself suggests, it will function all arithmetic operations, logic operations, and data transfer operations. Overall, the processing of data will be done here. So there are names called flags. Flags are nothing but which indicates something. Something in the sense condition or result will be reflected in this flags. So in general, for example, if you have a 8-bit register, D7 bit is considered as most significant bit and D0 is considered as least significant bit. And in 8051, we considered that as little endian architecture. Little endian means lower order address will be stored in D0 and higher order address will be stored in most significant bit. So it is called little endian. With respect to 8051, and you need to know this basic things. The unit of data size, bit is considered as either 0 or 1, byte means 8 bits, nibble means 4 bits, or half of a word, half of a byte means 4 bits, and word is of 2 bytes, that is nothing but 16 bits. Bit 0 or 1, byte 8 bits, nibble 4 bits, and then you have word that is nothing but 2 bytes or 16 bits. So this is about basic things with respect to computing system or computer systems. So next is know the features of microprocessor and microcontroller. So microprocessor means, as you can see here in the figure itself, you can distinguish between these two. Means there is a processor and all other things are connected externally to the processor. Means read-only memory, random access memory, and then I/O devices. Okay, all things are connected to the processor externally. So here in microcontroller, you have memory, read-only, random access, I/O devices, serial communication part, all are internal or on a single chip. That is considered as microcontroller. That is the main difference between microprocessor and microcontroller. The first thing, it is a heart of computer system. Means it is of general purpose usage and it is specific, application specific. Means it is the heart of embedded systems. Embedded system, you know, it is application specific. Means, for example, washing machine, music player, TV and all are considered as embedded systems. Both combination of hardware and software, and these components are embedded systems. Means application specific, oriented towards a single application. But these microprocessors are part of general purpose systems. Okay, we can use this for any kind of processing. So next is processor, and all are connected to the processor externally. Here all are connected on a single chip. So next is these components are connected externally. Hence this circuit, obviously circuit size will be higher, and the circuit size in this case will be lower compared to microprocessor because all are on the same chip. So circuit is larger. Obviously we cannot use that for compact devices. So here we can use that for compact devices or handheld devices like mobiles and all. So it is bulkier, hence we cannot use that for compact systems, and it is less size. We can use these microcontrollers for compact or handheld devices and cannot be used. Sorry, next, power consumption. In case of power consumption, all are externally connected. So obviously power consumption will be more with respect to microprocessor, and in case of microcontroller, all will be operated with a single power supply, and compared to this, the power consumption will be less. All points or features are related to one concept, that is every components or peripherals are connected externally. Here, every components are connected internally. So you can realize that with this point, means external and internal. Circuit is large, circuit is small, power consumption is large, high, and power consumption is low. So next, so all are externally connected, means memories are all externally connected. We need to fetch instruction data from external only. So obviously fetching will leads to higher time. Here we can fetch instruction data faster. So it is slower and this is faster. So we have less number of registers with respect to microprocessor, and we have more number of registers with respect to microcontroller. So next is, and here you can say microprocessor are of Harvard architecture, von Neumann architecture, and microcontroller are of Harvard architecture. Von Neumann means Harvard architecture versus von Neumann architecture. In the figure itself, you can distinguish between these two architectures. Means you have instruction memory, data memory. These two memories are separate in this case. But here you can see there is only one memory unit. Means both instruction and data are accessed with the same memory unit. So separate memories, and here you have same memory. So here you can say this is Harvard von Neumann architecture, and microcontroller are of Harvard architectures. So next is von Neumann and Harvard architecture. Features are comparison between von Neumann and Harvard architecture. So obviously there are separate memories like instruction, data memory. So design is complex, design is simple, because you need to design only one memory unit here. So design is complex, and here design is simple. You need separate buses for accessing memory and data in case of Harvard architecture, but you can use the same bus for both program and data in case of von Neumann architecture. So here, as you can see here, to the central processing unit, you can fetch instruction and data in a single cycle. But in this case, you need two separate cycles to fetch first program and then the data. So within one cycle, one instruction can be executed. Here you need at least two cycles to execute the program. So obviously you need to design two memories. So cost is higher. Here cost comparatively less. So these are the differences between von Neumann and Harvard architecture. So you can relate that von Neumann and Harvard architecture concepts with this. So in order to select a microcontroller for our application, we need to consider these factors. So it should be and efficient and cost efficient. It should perform the task very fast. Means other than this, we consider these points like speed. It should work faster. Packaging like DIP, QFP, dual inline package, or quad flat package. Depending on your application, we need to select, or we need to consider the packaging also. So power consumption. So for a handheld or compact devices, this will be the most important point. So it should consume less power. Hence, power consumption is also should be considered in order to select a microcontroller. And amount of RAM and ROM. So as I said earlier, RAM is a data memory, ROM is a program memory. Okay. So depending on this, So how much RAM and ROM is there on the chip will decide the speed of the microcontroller. So one and other are related. So you can fetch the data and program very fast. So speed will be increased. So if more RAM and ROM are there on the chip, then more speed will be achieved. So we need to consider RAM and ROM on chip. The number of IO pins. So how many IO pins are connected to a microcontroller, and how many timers, whether 2 timers or 3 timers. So for timing application and baud rate generation and all. So you need IO pins and timers. So we will consider this point also. So how easy it is to upgrade to higher performance or lower power consumption. So mainly compact devices or handheld devices, power consumption is the main criteria. You need, you will look for the microcontroller which consumes less power. So, and you have to upgrade to the higher performance with the same specification. So you will look for that point also. And what is the cost per unit? How will also be considered. And this debugger, assembler, and C language compiler. With for simulation, you need all this: assembler, debugger, code efficient, C language compiler, emulator, and also the technical support to develop your own application. You need technical support, so you will look for this specification also. And if all these are there but it is not available in the market, means that is not useful. So you will look for availability of the microcontroller in the market with number. So these are the points to be considered during the selection of a microcontroller for an application. So speed, packaging, power consumption, amount of RAM, ROM, number of IO pins, timers, easy to upgrade, cost per unit, availability of technical support and simulation related things, that is assembler, debugger, code efficiency, language compiler and all, and availability. So next is architecture of 8051 microcontroller. So as you can see here, first thing, CPU, central processing unit, you have interrupt control. So these two are the inputs to this: INT0, INT1, on-chip ROM, on-chip RAM, and you have two timers, timer 0 and timer 1, which are of 16-bit registers. And T0 and T1 are the two inputs to the timers, and serial port is there. So RxD, receiving and transmitting input signals, 4 IO ports, bus control and oscillator, on-chip oscillator. So first thing, all are connected with the use of buses. Okay. So central processing unit, as I said earlier, it has ALU, instruction decoder with some registers. CPU will process the data. Then on-chip ROM. So you have 4 kilobytes of on-chip RAM with 8051. On-chip ROM means read-only memory. It is a non-volatile memory, means whenever there is a power failure, you will not lose any data with ROM. So it is of 4 kilobytes where we can store instructions. And you have on-chip RAM. So it is of 128 bytes and random access memory. It is a temporary memory. It is a volatile memory. When there is a power failure, you lost the data stored in this, and it is of 128 bytes. So next is, you have two timers, timer 0 and timer 1. So timer 0 and timer 1 are of 16-bit registers, which are used for used in timers as well as counter mode. Means in timer mode, we will count the internal clock frequency. When it is used in counter mode, we will use it to count the external pulses or external events which are connected are coming from the external world to the CPU through T1 and T0. So overall counting and timing applications will be accomplished or done by this timers, which are of 16-bit registers. Next, serial port, you have full duplex UART. Full duplex in the sense you can send and receive the data serially. Serially means one by one, bit by bit communication, and UART means universal asynchronous. So you have start and stop bits along with your 8 bits. So universal asynchronous receiver and transmitter. Receive, transmit at the same time. So it is called full duplex UART. And to communicate with the external world, you have 4 IO ports: P0, P1, P2, P3. Along with the communicating with the external world, you need ports to send and receive address and data. So these pins are used for address as well as data. So bus control. So these are all on the chip. Why we need bus control means if 4 kilobytes of memory is not sufficient for your current application, then you can access further externally. So at that time you need bus control to control address bus, data bus, and as well as control bus. So to access the data and program externally, you need bus control. So you have oscillator, on-chip oscillator, and there are 2 pins that are called XTAL1 and XTAL2. So to this pins, we will connect a quartz crystal. So it works with 4 megahertz to 30 megahertz. And it will consider oscillation frequency of 8051 as 12 megahertz. And 30 picofarads of capacitors are connected in order to reduce the harmonics, or to oscillator to work with fundamental frequency, not with harmonic frequency. Will connect this capacitor. So this is the quartz crystal CPU. And then interrupt control. You have 6 interrupts with 8051, and INT0 and INT1 are the external interrupts. So the interrupts and interrupt service routines will be there to resolve the interrupts. So that function will be done by interrupt control. So overall architecture of 8051 consists of CPU, oscillator, bus control, 4 IO ports, and then serial port, timer 0, timers, on-chip RAM, on-chip ROM. So again, these are the features. Operates with single power supply, 5 volts are enough. 8-bit CPU. 8-bit CPU means central processing unit is of 8 bits. Most of all the registers are considered to be 8 bits, hence 8-bit CPU. Then we have 16-bit program counter. Program counters are nothing but the registers which points to the address of the next instruction, as we will see later. Next, you have 16-bit DPTR, data pointer, 8-bit program status word, and then 8-bit stack pointer. As I said earlier, 4 kilobytes of ROM, on-chip ROM, that is either ROM or EEPROM, electrically programmable read-only memory, 128 bytes of RAM, data memory, this is program memory. You have 21 special function registers, SFRs, then 32-bit bidirectional IO pins. Bidirectional means you can send and receive P0, P1, P2, P3, and you have 2 timers which can operate both as timers to count the internal clock and as well as counters to count the external events. And these Two timers are of 16-bit. You have got UART, full duplex, send, receive simultaneously, serial communication, bit by bit communication is there, and 6 source or 5 vectored interrupts. So including reset, we will consider overall 6 interrupts. So interrupts are nothing but the request from the external world or peripherals to the CPU for its application on chip oscillator. So these are the features of 8051. Next, pin diagram of 8051. You have 40 pins DIP, dual inline package, means two parallel lines of pins are there with 8051. It is considered as 40 pin DIP, dual inline package. And as you can see here, port 1, port 3, port 2, and port 0. So 8-bit registers, these are, ports are of 8 bits. So you need 1 pins for each bit. So P0 to P7, and you have reset. RST pin is nothing but reset. When you give high pulse on this pin, the 8051 will microcontroller will be on reset mode, means it will get reset. So next, there are port pins with P3. P3 port pins are there, but along with this, it is functioning other tasks also. For example, P3.0 is RXD, TXD, okay, INT0, INT1, means these pins are said to be multiplexed, means in order to reduce the number of pins, the same pins can function both the operation, means it can work as RXD, TXD for serial communication and interrupt pins, and as well as T0, T1, and write, WR means write signal in the sense, in order to access the external memory, you will need write and read. To read the content from the external memory, you need read signal, and then you have ground. XTAL and XTAL1 and 2 are the pins to connect quartz crystal, and 20 is the ground pin, and 40 is VCC, positive supply. And here you can see port 2 pins are used for port 2 register and as well as higher order address A8 to A15. So these pins are also multiplexed. And here P0 is functioning both as P0 pins, register pins, and address as well as data. Lower order address from 0 to 7 address as well as data. So these pins are said to be multiplexed. And as you can see here, pins used for external memory access. So EA bar external access pin should be grounded in order to fetch the data from program memory or data memory. First thing, EA bar should be grounded, and you have ALE, address latch enable. As I said earlier, port 0. So port 0 is used for both port pins as well as address and data. So how we have to consider whether it is a data or address will be decided by this ALE. When it is 1, this latch will demultiplex the signals and gives address output. When it is 0, means address latch enable is 0, then the data on this bus will be considered as data. So ALE1 means address, ALE0 is data. So here we have read bar. Read bar is connected to data memory. Write bar is connected to data memory. Means we can read and write with respect to data memory. So we need read bar to access the data in this, and we can write the data into the memory. So we should have write bar. Along with this, there is a pin called PSEN bar, program store enable. So it is also an active low signal which is connected to the OE bar or chip enable pin of program memory. And look at it. Look at this. PSEN means program store enable program. So in order to access the program memory, PSEN bar should be connected to chip enable pins of external program memory, not data memory, program memory. So EA bar, ALE, read, write, and this PSEN bar are the pins which are used for external memory access. So overall, you have port 1 with 8 pins, reset, port 3, port 2 for port pins as well as higher order address, port 0 pins with address as well as data of lower order address and data. And then you have external access, address latch enable, program store enable. So EA bar, the microcontroller default start fetching for program from external program memory. If this is grounded, then it will fetch the program or data from external memory. So if PC is higher than 0 FFF, means 0 FFFH, then it will start fetching from external program memory or data memory. And PSEN will indicate whether it is a program memory or data memory, because PSEN bar will be connected to program memory, external program memory. And EA bar is user programmable. We will make this as grounded or we will make it enable. PSEN bar is processor controlled. Whenever we make this activated, then 8051 will activate PSEN bar to fetch the program from program memory, which is of external, to the 8051. So then you have memory organization of 8051. As I said, it has got on-chip ROM and on-chip RAM. On-chip ROM as of 4 kilobytes. You know, 2 power 10 means 1 kilobyte. 2 power 2 is nothing but 4. 4 into 1, 4 kilobytes. So you need 12 address lines from 0 to 11. So all are FFF and 0. So 0 FFF till 00 to 0 FFF will be the addresses which are available on the chip. On chip RAM addresses from 00 to FFF. From 100 to till FFF will be the external ROM. So here you have 4 kilobytes of memory, which is of permanent data, which is used for permanent data storage, and it is non-volatile, means whenever there is a power failure, the data will not be lost. And you can interface 64 kilobytes full external ROM with 8051, and internally you have 000 to 0FFFH memory locations, that is of on-chip ROM. Then you have on-chip RAM, random access memory, or it is called as data memory. So from the beginning, you have register banks, bit addressable area, general purpose area. So from 00 to 1FH, it is 32 bytes, and there are 4 register banks, register 0, 1, 2, 3, and then from 20 to 2FH, it is considered as bit addressable area, and from 30 to 7FH, it is read write or scratch pad memory, or it is used for general purpose applications by the user. Okay, which is of 80 bytes. 80 plus 16 plus 32, overall 128 bytes of RAM. So first, from the beginning, 200 to 1F, you have 4 register banks: bank 0, bank 1, bank 2, bank 3. So in each bank, you have 8 registers, 0 to 7, R0 to R7. But the names are same for all the banks. So 32 bytes of RAM are used for register banks. 4 banks are there, bank 0 to bank 7. Each will be having 8 registers. And which bank register, for example, R3 is used by the processor. Which bank is currently used by the processor will be decided by the RS1 and RS0 bits of PSW. PSW is nothing but program status word. We have 2 bits called RS1, RS0. Register bank select bit 1, register bank select bit 0. So if it is 0, 0, we will consider that as bank 0. If the bits are 0, 1, it is considered as bank 1. 1, 0, it is considered as bank 2. And 1, 1, it is considered as bank 3. So which bank is currently being used by the processor will be decided by this bits of PSW, program status word. And register bank 0. This is considered as a default register when powered up after reset. So write the instruction to select register bank 0 and register bank 3. For register bank 0, you need RS1 and RS0 as 0, 0. So there are instruction like clear and set bit. Clear means it will, RS1 will be 0, RS0 will also be 0. So clear RS1, clear RS0 will make or will select the register bank 0. And here to select register bank 3, you need RS1 as 1 and RS0 as 1. So set bit RS1, set bit RS. This instruction will make RS1 as 1, RS0 as 1. So 1, 1 means bank 3, 0, 0 means bank 0. So these bits can be manipulated, means by we can set and clear by using clear and set bit instruction. So next is, so first thing, you have register bank from 00 to 1F, 32 bytes. Next is bit addressable area. Bit addressable area is from 20 to 2FH. So there are 16 bytes of memory locations, and each bits are means each bits can be accessed. Can be accessed means we can read and write every single bit of this area. So there are 16 bytes, 16 into 8, that is nothing but 128 bit addressable areas there in the RAM, and addresses are 20 to 2FH, 20H to 2FH. So you can specify single bit address, or you can specify by using byte addresses. For example, here you can see 4F is there, which is nothing but bit 7 of byte address 29. Likewise, for example, 7E is there, which is nothing but bit 6 of byte address 2F. So you can use this bit addressable area by using bit manipulation instruction like set bit, clear bit, use seen, right? So by using bit manipulation instruction, you can access each and every single bits of this area. So overall, there are 128 bits in the RAM. You can access it for reading and writing. So next is from 30 to 7F. This is general purpose area where user can access to store that for data as well as addresses. And above all, 7F from 80 to FF, it is called SFR memory. That is nothing but special function registers are there. So special function registers are 21 special function registers are there with 8051, and these special function registers are classified into math or CPU registers like A and B, status register, program status word, pointer register, data pointer and stack pointer, IO port latches, P0, P1, P2, P3, peripheral control registers like PCON, serial control, timer mode, IE, interrupt enable, interrupt priority registers, and peripheral data registers like TL0, TH0, TL1, TH1, and SPUF. So the SFR, 21 SFRs are classified like this: match, status, pointer, IO port latches, peripheral control registers, and peripheral data registers. So here is the list of SFRs like accumulator, ACC means accumulator, B means register B, DPH, data pointer high, data pointer low, interrupt enable, interrupt priority, port registers, power control, program status word, SCON, serial control, SBUF, serial buffer, stack pointer, timer mode control, control, timer counter control, TL1, TH1, and TL0 and TH0. So these are all the SFRs which are there in the 8051. So first thing, program counter is 16-bit register. So 16-bit register means we can access from 000H to FFFH. 2 power 16 locations like 0 to FFFH we can access with if the program counter is of 16-bit. Then initial value is this and final value will be this. So program counter is the register which holds or which points to the address of the next instruction to be executed from the program. Means here you can see on power up, program counter will be 0000. When CPU is executing this, the program counter will have the address of second instruction. So second instruction is this, program counter will be having 0001 as its data. So it is pointing to the address of next instruction to be executed from ROM. So initially on power up, PC is 000H. So ORG, there is a directive, assembler directive is there, ORG, which makes PC as 000H initially. So program counter, 16-bit register, you can access 64 kilobytes of RAM, 64 kilobytes of code, initial value, final value, it points to the address of next instruction to be executed. Initial value is 000H, ORG assembler directive initial. Then the data pointer is 16-bit register. The combination of 2 register, 8 bits. So the value of 82H for DPL and 83H for. So data pointer is a 16-bit register, DPL, DPH, 8-bit registers. On reset, these bits are 000 and DPH will also have 000 and address is 82H DPL, DPH is of 83H. So it holds the address when 8051 is accessing external memory. So as you can see here, you have internal RAM, external data, and external program and data, internal and external ROM. So here you can see there is an instruction called MOVX A, at DPTR. So to access this external RAM, you are using DPTR, means which holds the address, 16-bit address of the external RAM. And along with A, in this instruction, move C means code. External or internal, you are accessing code, program memory by making use of accumulator and data pointer. So by adding these two components, means A and DPTR content, you will get the address and that will be moved to CPU. So overall, you have DPTR 16-bit register and DPL is of 8-bit, DPH is of 8-bit, value on reset and addresses 82H and 83H. So it is mainly used to access external RAM or ROM which holds the 16-bit address. Next register is, most important register is accumulator, that is called as A register. On reset, it will be having 0000, address is E0H. So it is mainly used to hold the data or to store the data. It is used in arithmetic operations, logic operation, and data transfer instructions will also make use of accumulator. So arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, as you can see here, some of the instruction. And add, subtract, multiplication, division. So add A means accumulator, subtraction, multiplication, and divisions are you making use of accumulator. In logic instructions like ANL and XOR, or these are the instructions which are using accumulator. And most of all the logic operations will have A as the destination. So then to access external memory or for a data transfer instruction, we will make use of this like MOVX A. As you can see here, MOVX A, A at DPTR, move C, code, we are accessing external and internal RAM by using accumulator. So overall, accumulator is a register which is of 8-bit, reset value is 000, and its SFR address or RAM address is E0H, and it is to hold the data or to store the data of the instruction result, and it is used for arithmetic operation, logic operation, and data transfer instruction, which are used in data transfer instruction. either internal or external memory it could be. So next register is, this is also one of the SFR, special function register. It is of 8 bits. On reset, it will be having the value 000 and its address is F0H. A B register is used along with accumulator A in division and multiplication. For example, as you can see here, you have an instruction called multiplication A into B. So here B is holding some data. So A is having the content and B is also having the content. So multiplication means A into B, you have 1158H as the answer, as the result. So higher order byte, that is 11, will be moved to B register, and the lower order address, the content 58 will be moved to accumulator. In this way, B register will be used in multiplication instruction. It holds one operand and higher order byte of the result. It holds one operand and a higher order byte of the result. In case of division instruction, as you can see here, DIV-AB, it is holding the divisor. A is having one content, B is holding divisor. By dividing after division, in case of result, A is having quotient and B will be having remainder. So in this way, B register is used in multiplication and division instruction along with A register, and also it can be used to store data temporarily. So next SFR is program status word. So program status word is a 8-bit register. On reset, it will be having 0 as its content, and address is of D0H. Address in SFR is D0H. So it is of 8 bits. So in 8 bits, each single bit can be accessed, means we can set or clear each and every bit of this PSW. Like each and every bits are considered as flag bits. Flag means it is indicating some result, condition of the result. So bit 7 is considered as carry flag, bit 6 is considered as auxiliary carry, and then RS1, registered bank select 1, registered bank select 0, and you have bit 2 as overflow flag and bit 0 as parity flag. So carry, auxiliary carry, RS1, RS0 or overflow, parity, these bits are indicating, means they are indicating some condition of the instruction execution. So first is carry flag. So it will set whenever there is a carry from D7 bit. Okay, so here we are adding 2 data. So by adding the last 2 digits, you are getting one is 0 and there is a carry. So the carry flag will be set. If there is no bit from D7, then carry flag will be reset. So if there is a bit carry out from D7, carry flag will be set. Otherwise, it will be reset. Set means 1, clear means 0. So this carry flag can be set and clear by using this bit manipulation instruction, like set bit C, clear C. Set bit C means 0 to 1, we will set the carry flag. Clear C means the carry flag will be 0. So set bit C and clear C are the 2 logic instructions which can make carry flag as 1 or carry flag as 0. So if there is a carry out from D7, then carry is set, otherwise it is reset. Then one more flag is there, auxiliary carry flag. See here you are adding two numbers. If this is called nibble, 4 bits are considered nibble, lower nibble, higher nibble. If there is a carry from lower nibble, means D3 to D4, then auxiliary carry flag is set. Otherwise, it is reset. If there is no carry from lower nibble to upper nibble, if this is 0, then auxiliary carry flag will be reset. And it is mainly used in binary coded decimal arithmetic to adjust the hexadecimal to decimal after addition or subtraction instruction. You will come to see in the next chapter what is this binary coded decimal arithmetic is. So parity flag, here, see, you are adding 38 plus 2f and the result is 67. So here you are having 5 numbers of 1. So there are 5 ones in the result. So this result will be there in the accumulator. We need to see how many numbers of ones in the accumulator. If it is odd, then parity flag bit will be 1, otherwise it is 0. We look for odd parity. So 1, number of ones are odd, then P is 1. If it is even number, then P is 0. And number of ones or zeros have to be considered in accumulator. We need to consider or look for ones and zeros in only in accumulator, not anywhere in R0 to R7. So here are 2 examples. So in this example also 9C is added with 64H. So you are getting 100. So there is a carry from D7 out of D7. So carry flag is 1. And D3, lower nibble to higher nibble, you are getting 1 carry. That's why auxiliary carry flag is also 1. So you have all zeros, no ones are there. So parity is also 0. So even. Then here carry is there. So carry from D7 is there. That's why carry flag is set. And from D3 to D4 you don't have any carry. That's why auxiliary carry is 0 and you have even number of ones. Hence P0 is equal to, parity bit is 0. Even parity, P is equal to 0. Before we are going to explain overflow flag, just know about this signed numbers. Signed numbers means in 8-bit data, first bit, MSB bit D7 is considered for sign, other 7 bits are considered for magnitude. So if it is D7 is 0, then that number is considered as positive. D7 is equal to 1, then that number is considered as negative. So this is about signed numbers. Sign and then other digits are considered for magnitude. So in order to represent minus 34, so just take 34. 3 means 0, 0, 1, 1 and 0, 1, 0, 0. So invert each bit. Invert means make 0 as 1, 1 as 0. Then add 1 to it to least significant bit. You will get this. So 2's complement form or negative numbers, you need to follow this procedure. So if D7 is 0, then the number is considered as positive. D7 is 1, it is negative. Now, overflow flag. So in 8-bit signed numbers, okay, it is for signed number operation. Overflow flag is set if either any one of this occurs. There is a carry from D6 to D7, but no carry out of D7. Means exclusive OR of carry and D6 to D7 carry. Or there is a carry from D7 out, but no carry from D6 to D7. So here you can consider examples. And overflow flag is set whenever the answer or result is above minus 128 to plus 127 range. So if it is overflowing or higher than this range, then overflow flag will be set. So here you are adding 2 content and then you are getting 166 as output result. Then 166 is greater than 127, overflow flag is 1. So here minus 128 minus 2, the answer should be minus 130, but you are getting the result as minus 126, which is wrong. So that's why that condition will be indicated by overflow flag, means which indicates the answer is wrong. Okay, then here minus 2, minus 5, minus 7. So overflow flag is 0, means which indicates it is correct. And it is in the range of minus 128 to plus 127. So here 19 plus 7, you will get the result, and which is within the range of plus 127. Overflow flag is 0, which indicates answer is correct. So here the overflow flag is only used to detect error in signed arithmetic operation. Signed arithmetic operation is important, means whether it is overflowing, means higher than the given range. Minus 128 to plus 127 is the range. So if it is exceeding that range, then overflow flag will be set, otherwise it is reset. So in my today's session, I have covered differences between microprocessor and microcontroller. Microprocessor ಮತ್ತೆ microcontroller ಏನೇನು ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ, ಮೈಕ್ರೋಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ ಪ್ಲಸ್ ಪೆರಿಫೆರಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಇಂಟರ್ನಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪವರ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಆಪರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಬೇಸ್ಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸ್ಲೋಯರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್. ದೆನ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಹಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ವಾನ್ ನ್ಯೂಮನ್. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಡೇಟಾ ಮೆಮೊರೀಸ್ ಸೆಪರೇಟ್ ಇದೆ. ವಾನ್ ನ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇಮ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಲೊಕೇಶನ್ ನ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಗೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲರ್ ನ ನಾವು ಚೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್, ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜಿಂಗ್, ಪವರ್ ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಹೇಗಿದೆ, ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ ರಾಮ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ IO ಪಿನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ, ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ ಯೂನಿಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ, ಅವೈಲಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದೆಯಾ, ರೆಡಿ ಅವೈಲಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇನ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ದೆನ್ ಬ್ಲಾಕ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನಿದೆ, CPU, ಆಸಿಲೇಟರ್, ಆನ್ ಚಿಪ್ ರಾಮ್, ರ್ಯಾಮ್, ಬಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್, 4 ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಸೀರಿಯಲ್ ಪೋರ್ಟ್, 2 ಟೈಮರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಟರಪ್ಟ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್. ಫೀಚರ್ಸ್, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ 8-bit CPU. ಪಿನ್ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್, 40 ಪಿನ್ DIP ಡ್ಯುಯಲ್ ಇನ್ಲೈನ್ ಪ್ಯಾಕೇಜ್. ಸಮ್ ಪಿನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ಡ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 ಅಥವಾ 3 ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಪಿನ್ಸ್. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಿನ್ ಕೌಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಪಿನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿನ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರೀಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು EA ಬಾರ್ ALE RD ರೈಟ್ PSEN ಪಿನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಮೆಮೊರಿ 4 ಕಿಲೋಬೈಟ್ ಆನ್ ಚಿಪ್ ಇದೆ, ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ, ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ. ರ್ಯಾಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಡೇಟಾ ಮೆಮೊರಿ 128 ಬೈಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್, ಬಿಟ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸಬಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಜನರಲ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. 4 ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದೊಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ 8 ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಕರೆಂಟ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅದು ಅಂತ ಈ RS1 ಮತ್ತೆ RS0 PSW ಇರುವಂತ ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ 00 ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 0, 01 ಇದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 1, 10 ಇದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 2, 11 ಇದ್ರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ 3 ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 0, ಸೆಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ 1 ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಬೈ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಟ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸಬಲ್ ಏರಿಯಾ 128 ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದೊಂದು ಬಿಟ್ಟುನು ರೀಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. SFRs ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ 21 ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಕೌಂಟರ್ ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು 16 ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಟು FFFH ವರ್ಗುನು ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಡೇಟಾ ಪಾಯಿಂಟರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿದು ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟರ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಅರ್ಥಮೆಟಿಕ್, ಲಾಜಿಕ್, ಡೇಟಾ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಬಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ನ ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೈಯರ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬೈಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಮೈಂಡರ್ ನ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಬಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟಸ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ ಬಿಟ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ನ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಯಾವ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿನ ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ, ಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿ, ಓವರ್ಫ್ಲೋ ಅಂತ. ಡಿ 7 ಬಿಟ್ ಇಂದ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ 1 ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ 0. ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲೋಯರ್ ನಿಬಲ್ D3 ಇಂದ 1 ಇದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಆಕ್ಸಿಲರಿ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಆಡ್ ಇದ್ರೆ P equal to 1, otherwise it is 0. So let us continue today's session.